Welcome to Studio 2 here in the Euromix Studios, and today I have the pleasure to go through and present our new download content for Ableton Live. It's called the SubbControl. It's a tool that I've been creating myself, that I've been using when I'm doing the mixdowns and the masterings for you guys, and I'm super thrilled to finally share it with you. Enough talking, just let's get to it. Okay, SubbControl. It's a piece of device for Ableton Live and Ableton Live only. I'm running Live 12 here. It got released yesterday. I did code it on Live 11 though, so that shouldn't be any problem. As you might understand, hence the name SubbControl, it is focusing on the very low frequencies in your project. So I recommend you to have headphones, or if you're in the studio, use your studio monitors. I wouldn't recommend any other audio device for this, because you want to have the full frequency response from the very low in order to hear what's going on here. Also, I want to say thank you to all the beta testers who came with very valuable feedback on it, and actually as a result of that I decided to recode it into the motor of our previous release plugin called the Crossover. So if you used that one before, you might see some similarities in it. So when you open up the SubbControl, it will look like this. I choose to have the compressor visible on display when it comes, for the simple reason that you kind of early in the process want to sidechain it to the kick, if you're a sidechain kick person, that is. But you could go quite extreme with the SubbControl. However, I'm gonna use it more moderately. But to not completely drown the kick in your bassline and the result of this low warmth guy over here, I would at least suggest to have the kick here running, and then you can always use the sidechain parameter over here and just tap in a little bit. So I'm just gonna go through the project. I have just the beat and the bass from a track from my upcoming album, which is coming on Sushi Tech in a couple of months. It's called Generation Drive. Exciting stuff. However, I did mute the musical part of it because I want to focus on what's most important for this plugin, and that is to focus on the bass, on the sub, and a little bit on the rest of the frequency response that's left over after you did the action on the low. So I'm gonna just start to play the track. I can start from the break maybe, and you can hear what we're got here to work with. As you hear, it's just a beat pretty much. You have a pretty standard 909 kick. We have a bass made on the Roland SH101 here. I recorded it, so you will hear later on that it's kind of like scratchy and noisy and a little bit distorted. I like it that way. I also recorded it through, well, the Studer here and SSL Fusion with the vintage drive on it. Yeah, we can actually start with the 101 bass and see what the SubbControl can do, because that's why we're here. What's going on behind here, it's not really important. Well, you feel free to open up and see. It's kind of a mess. What you need to know here is these few parameters. We're starting with a low warmth. What's going on here is that you choose which frequencies you want the low warmth to hit. So if you go all the way to 0, you will start on 50 Hertz and downwards. That means so everything below 50 Hertz will be affected by the low warmth. If you go up to 200 Hertz, everything below 200 Hertz will get affected. I like it somewhere in the middle. I found out that if you put it on 63, it's exactly 100 Hertz. So that's what we're gonna do today. With the high crunch I created that as a sort of compensation for what's you're losing in the whole picture when you're adding low frequencies, because that's actually what's happening. If you have a frequency analyzer, you will see that when you're increasing the low warmth, you will add more volume. So there should always be a trick to work with the output here, to not get fooled by the volume itself, but also to use the high crunch to kind of compensate for the additional bass that you get. So when you're using the high crunch, set the frequency here the same as you do here, so 100 hertz and upwards, and here's 300 hertz and upwards. So I'm going to keep it on 0, which means 100. So we have a crossover at everything below 100 gets low warmth, and everything over 100 gets the high crunch. So I'm going to solo the kick and bass, and you're going to hear what's going on here without anything. And then I'm going to tap in the low warmth to kind of show you how it sounds, because this is the main thing. Kick and bass, low warmth, here we go. And somewhere around here, I would say that the SubbControl is really doing what it's meant to be. I feel so cozy right now with the warmth coming in and just like hugging me, sort of. I want to sit by a campfire and just like, this is so nice. And it's kind of like making the whole track feel more complete. And we can actually go even higher. And now you start to hear that there's a lot of bass, and it's kind of like drowning the kick a little bit. So now, since we have the kick coming in the sidechain as a trigger, we can tap in a little bit of that. And you see here that the dry wet, it gets up. So it's like nothing strange. And now I want to use the high crunch to be able to put some more focus on the rest of the bass line, which is not the sub. And here you have to be careful, because this gets wild pretty quickly. So here we go. And you hear that it's really grabbing all of the noise and all of the distortion of the recorded 101. So we want to keep it a little bit low here. And I can bypass it, and you will hear how it will sound without it. And we're back to normal, the boring normal. And here we have the SubbControl normal. And together with the rest of the track, without it, now you basically just hear the kick. And now you have the full warmth and a little bit of the high crunch of the 101 bass. So what I did here is basically take something which is bassy. It's a 101 after all. It has some bass information, but this is a good example where you can grab something which is a little bit bassy, but really put it in the focus of the track and make it the #1 bass line. You don't really need anything else right now in terms of the frequency span. The bottom is full. We can make another example here if you put it on the kick. I'm gonna put it down to 63 as we did before. And I'm playing the kick. We have this kind of standard 909 action going on, nothing strange really. And here, low warmth, here we go. Listen now what's going on in the kick, in the low. Here's a dry. And now pretty quickly it gets like this enormous, huge sub coming in underneath the kick. And yeah, well, be careful here guys, because here it quickly gets overhand. But it's a good thing. I mean, you can always just be moderate with it, like do a little bit and feel. Like if you have a processed kick already, just use a little bit, or you know, don't use it at all. You want to use it when you need it. If you record something straight from a drum machine, for example, like a raw drum, this comes in really handy, because you need a little bit of processing if you're using the raw recorded drums. And here the low hertz frequency selector really comes in handy, because see now if I go all the way up to 200 and I'm adding the warmth, you get this nasty thump kind of punch coming in. And I can put this to 200, I can go up a little bit of this, and now adding some high crunch as well. Without it, with it. You hear that it's like, it quickly goes overhand. So I chose, when I coded the SubbControl, to keep it like this, because the beta testing feedback I got from you guys, which I so much appreciate, a common thing was that it quickly got overhand. I actually did reduce it a little bit, so this 100% isn't the original 100%. This is actually 50%, and the high crunch is more like maybe 80%. But I want you to use your skills. I want you to use your ears. I want you to trust yourself. And if you want to add a lot, do it. But I don't want you to be forced to wear a seat belt to be able to not get crazy. Like, go crazy if you want it, but also like use it in moderation if you want it. Same thing with this project. I'm using it right now in a very like specific kind of conservative mixing way. There's nothing wrong with putting on like some percussions or like a groove or some rhythms or wherever, that where you have a little bit of bass, but you want to move the focus there. You can create a bass line out of something which is not that bassy, as long as there's something to work with. I can show you, for example, if we put it on the master, for example, I'm going to show you just what's going on with the high crunch. For example, here's a good example of what's going on. So I'll just play the whole track, adding the low warmth, and now you will hear that it's like, it also snatches the kick and the bass together. Maybe I just want that, maybe that now like 70 hertz or so. And now you hear when I'm adding the high crunch what's actually going on. So this is just an example to show you how the high crunch sounds and what it could do to other pieces of music than just the guitar and the bass. Let's put it on 100 and 100. With that said, I'm not really recommending you to put the SubbControl on the master. I just did this to show you how the high crunch can sound, and you can imagine what would happen if you put it on the percussion, for example, or something else. So I want you to experiment, but I want you to get into your projects, put it on your bassline or basslines, put it on the group together with the kick. You will hear that this can do something really mesmerizing for your low frequencies, for your warmth, especially if there's something lacking. I don't recommend you to use this if you already have a heavy bass project. Use it early in the process, like when you're producing it, put it in there, get used to it. Don't add it like late in the project or anything when you already adjusted the bass. I want you to use it early, use it as a tool when you're producing early in the process to get the bass line right. And then afterwards, put an EQ and fine tune it, because this is kind of like a broad brush. If you want to download this, go to euromix.net, scroll all the way down and download it for free, put it in your Ableton Live. And also let me know, I'm super curious how you receive this device, how you're using it, let me know. And if you ever need help with mixing and mastering, I'm here for you. I'm using all of this beautiful gear right here in combination with the best tools from Ableton Live and the digital toolbox that I have there. So I'm looking forward to hear from you and wish you a productive session with your new project.